Hello, Steffi here. It's time to talk. Real people, real lives. Today's topic, long-term impact of a dying brother. A very touchy topic, I guess, for all of us. And I guess we all experienced losing a loved one, maybe lately, just a long time ago. But we all going through grief in a totally different way. It depends on our relationship. It's dependent also how we cope with it, how our insight, how we deal with the grieving. It's totally different. But today's story is very touchy, and it happened actually 28 years ago. So our guest today is Jo. And she's going to tell us her story, sharing her story, how she's coping with the death of her beloved brother. Hello, Jo. How are you today?
Hi, Steffi.
Hey.
I'm good.
Thanks for coming along.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here and to share my story.
So let us know. So what happened and when did it happen with your brother?
So I was 22 years old and my brother was 24, and I basically was living at my parents' house at the time. My brother came to visit us at home. He was on his way up north with some friends, and I think it was about 10 o'clock at night. He came and said goodbye to me, just to say, see ya, I'll see you on Sunday, I'm going away for the weekend. And then the next morning we got the call to say that he had been in a car accident, and yeah, that was it. And one of the really weird things I remember was I was actually at work, and I was working in a medical laboratory at that time, and we got my father rang the medical laboratory trying to find me. And because he was very upset, he couldn't remember which medical laboratory I was working at, because I actually had 2 jobs at that time. But I distinctly remember that my boss took the phone call and he passed the phone to me, and the phone was actually mounted on a pole in the middle of the laboratory, and my boss was actually standing right next to the phone. And I put the phone to my ear, and my mum didn't want to tell me what had happened. And my mum told me, and this is my clearest memory, is that I dropped the phone and I actually hugged my boss, and I slid down around to his belt area and just stayed there, and just afterwards thinking how inappropriate that was, because my head was around his belt area. And then it was just a mess from then on. But yeah, that's now about 29 years ago. And so when it first happened, I actually went overseas 2 years later, which I'm a really big believer in physical distancing. Can actually be quite a big healer. It doesn't actually make it go away, but it actually helps with that initial period of just feeling completely lost, really. Excuse me. And because when you come back from overseas, you've still got that there. So and as time went on, I don't know, in some ways it gets better, in some ways it doesn't. Like, I remember for the first 10 years after it was kind of okay, and then I met my current partner, who I've been with for 20 years, and then it sort of started to actually kick in more, that we didn't have aunties and uncles, because a lot of our friends were having children, and it just sort of got you thinking that, we're going to have children and not have any aunties and uncles, because my actual partner is I say only child by default as well, through another incident. And then we had children, and then, you see all these other people around you, and they're having their kids, and they've got their they've got their brothers and sisters, and those children have got uncles and aunties that come round, and they have cousins to play with, and it's like that unconditional, it's like that unconditional love and relationship that you have with aunties and uncles that we never had. So I always felt really, just felt really quite lonely. And
does it feel like a missing piece? That is something missing in your life?
Yeah. It's like this little part. It's like when it first happens, you've got this massive big hole, and it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a bottomless pit of darkness. And then as time goes on, that hole in your heart kind of closes up. But there's like this little part of it, like a chip on the side of that hole, that never really heals over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that constant feeling of something missing, and it often makes you feel really disconnected. For some reason you don't always feel like you're connecting with people. It's a really hard thing to explain, and you often feel really lonely, even though you have, I have lots of friends and lots of people around me, but it's just that feeling of always feeling lonely, like something's missing,
like the inside loneliness. Not this inside, nobody can actually see it. It's only you know it, and you can feel it.
Yeah, totally. And it particularly always hits me on a Sunday. I don't know why. I often get this feeling on a Sunday afternoon, and it's like this restless sort of feeling, like you want to go and do something, or you want something to happen, but you can't really describe what that feeling is. You want something, you just don't know what that something is. That's missing, but you don't really know how to fill it.
Did you meet up with your brother mostly on a Sunday?
No, this is why I don't understand the Sunday. The only thing I can put Sunday down to is that perhaps in New Zealand culture, traditionally your Sunday was the family day.
Mm-hmm.
It was the family day, and you'd either go and visit your grandparents, or to have the family over for dinner or something like that. That's the only kind of thing I can put it down to. And my brother was my soulmate. When people talk about having a soulmate, he was my soulmate. Like he was the guy when he was 18 and I was 16, and we'd go night clubbing together, and it would be me bringing the older brother home who'd got too drunk. It would be me, shepherding the older brother home. And we had this, in my early 20s, we had this, we had big groups of people, but because we were really close, like I had my group and he had his group, but there was just huge crossovers. And I remember like when we lived in Auckland and we'd go up north for a weekend, and there'd be 20 of us would go away, and we'd book out all these motels or a campground, and it's just we had a very, very close relationship, and he, to the point where he instinctively knew like if something was wrong with me. Like I remember breaking up with a boyfriend, and I was only about 18, so it's all very intense then, isn't it? And my brother and I was flatting at the time, and my brother just appeared at the door, and like I hadn't rung him, I hadn't texted him, or we didn't have phones then, but just things like that. Like he was almost more like a twin, and I think that's another reason why I sort of often still feel disconnected or like I'm not whole.
It's something was ripped out from your heart, no?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, alive. You're still alive, but it was ripped out, and you're missing it. And in certain circumstances, you're like, oh my goodness, would be nice if you could be here.
Yeah.
With me.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at your children and you think, my children have no aunties and uncles. My children have no cousins. And it's like, my kids don't know that, so it's probably not something that they themselves recognise, but and I try very hard not to put that on them, because I know what you don't know you can't miss, but when you've had it and it's been taken away,
Oh no, I can imagine. That's not easy. That's not easy. And when, like, we had a good conversation beforehand, and what you said beforehand is there's sometimes people, they expect this because you're a bubbly person, everything is fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
to be honest, is it fine?
Absolutely, like, you know, and I mean, and Steffi, I know that you're the same too, you know, because we're quite similar. Like, you know, Steffi and I did a trip to Auckland last year, and we just talked non-stop all the way, you know. so, you know, and we're both bubbly, and we're vivacious, and we're fairly confident, and we love talking to people, and so because of that, you know, people only see that side of you. And so they automatically think that you're okay. But we aren't really any different from people who are shy and perhaps people who are not so confident and people who maybe aren't so good in a social situation. We, behind the scenes, we are still sometimes in a puddly heap on the floor. And we're not going to, you know, I mean, you know yourself, you don't really want to go and see people when you're like that because you think, well, why would someone want to spend time with me when I'm, you know, in this puddly mess on the floor? I mean, I'm not going to be great company, am I? So, you know, most people don't go out when they're feeling like that. They do stay at home, and they stay at home behind closed doors. And, you know, since my brother died, I often walk around town now, and you know, I look at people, and you know, I probably especially the ones that look happy and bubbly, and I often look at them and think, you know, I wonder what really is going on in your life, you know. Like, you might look so great and all together on the outside, but really, you know, what's really happening underneath? And yeah, people don't really get through that vibrant layer sometimes.
So you would suggest that it's really, it's nothing wrong with asking for help?
No, there's nothing wrong for asking for help, and I don't know if that's a Kiwi culture thing, because I know 4 or 5 years ago I actually went on to antidepressants, and I've always been very anti-drugs, and I've always been against all of that stuff. And I remember when I even had to go to see the doctor and the nurses and to actually tell them why I was so unhappy, I just felt absolutely ridiculous. I actually felt, I'm sorry, this is no disrespect to Americans, but I actually felt like one of those Americans who was on a talk show spilling their whole guts. It's not really a Kiwi thing. It's not really, even for women, it's not, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a natural accepted thing to do. And so when I actually did end up getting the antidepressants, I sort of finally decided that I owed it to my kids to be happy, because I was just irritable and grumpy, and I just felt horrible all the time. And when I actually did go on the antidepressants, I'm on quite a low dose, but they're amazing. Like, honestly, I can't now. I'm a convert. I'm sorry. It's like, you know, like whatever it takes for a while to, you know, I mean, I think alongside that, you've also got to be acknowledging and working on the fact that, you know, drugs aren't going to fix. They're not going to fix it, but they definitely help you carry on, I think. Yeah.
If it helps for you, because we are all different.
I know.
Absolutely different. If you say this is the way how you can deal with the loss of your brother, to go through, and you realize that, hey, this is not my life. I want to be happy again.
Yeah.
So you found a solution. Yeah. And as you say, it is not a high dosage. It's just a really tiny. Yeah. And it helps you going through.
Yeah. And honestly, I honestly wish I'd gone on them much earlier. I really do, because I think if I'd gone on them earlier, I might have been further ahead, kind of. You know what I mean? But yeah. So.
Well, you're doing all right. Your business is going well. You have a nice family. I meet them all. They're happy. So I think you're doing fine.
Yeah, doing fine. Doing fine, apart from the odd Sunday where you actually just, you know, don't feel like you've got it together. And I don't know, like I think there's really odd side effects of losing a brother too. Like, and I'm not sure if this is part of it or not, but when you have those days where you feel like you're in a puddly mess, you often feel like start thinking you've got no friends, and you start feeling like that people aren't really interested, and people don't care, and it's
so you're questioning yourself.
Yeah, you question when you get in those spaces. You actually start questioning yourself, and you actually, I don't know, you almost start questioning if you're actually a likable person. And I don't even know if that's part of it, but I do think it is possibly part of depression.
Of your journey.
Yeah.
But that's what we said in the beginning. You know, everybody deals differently with grieving. It is a journey.
Yeah.
It could be a shorter one. It could be a long one. It could be a lifelong one.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there is that perception that, you know, that sort of maybe 5 to 8 years after an event like that you kind of all hunky-dory again. But I just don't think it's something that ever goes away. Like, it's something that's always with you, and like, you don't really ever get over it, but you learn to live with it. Yeah. And I think that's really important too, for people in the same situation to know that, you're probably never going to be the same. And yes, life will be good again, but it's never going to be, you know, 100% like it was before. So, and that's okay, you know, that's just how it is, you know. And some days some days you still feel like it was only yesterday, and some days you don't even think about it at all. So, you know, and you might have months where you don't think about it at all, but then sometimes it just hits you in random ways. And, you know, that's okay. Even 30 years on, that's okay, because, you know, that's your heart. You know, that's your heart that's been ripped. So it's still okay to feel like that.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story. Absolutely, it's very touchy. I had goosebumps here. And like we said in the beginning, you know, people go through this in a totally different way.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming along today.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for asking me, Steffi. I've never been asked to tell my story.
Yeah.
So
No, it's really. And hopefully we can really make a difference to somebody else.
Yeah.
So this was our story today with Joe, and what we just heard is like, we don't moving on. We just moving forward, because we still have a life to live, and the loved ones we are losing, or we are lost. They want us to be happy. They want us to be happy. They look after us from a different direction. But this is really, really important. And for me, I'm going through something similar at the moment. And what I really want to address to you, ask for help. And if you have one of your friends who actually is going through this at the moment, and you see this friend and say, hey, how are you today? Okay. Listen twice. What is under the okay? Ask if you can help. Ask if you can do something to make the person to feel much, much better. Like I said, it could be a shorter way, a long way. It could be a lifelong way with your grieving. But everybody deals a different way. So remember, we are on this journey together. Write your posts, write your thoughts, whatever it is, share it with us. And remember to subscribe to our channel. Enjoy your life, be happy, and most of all, be unstoppable. You are worth it. Life can be very short sometimes. Hey, nice to see you, and we will see you soon again. Bye!